Very
Well,
good.
hi. Hello.
Hi there.
Silas, I don't know if you remember, we did one of these, but in person around a boy named Jake. It was like
Oh
a
yeah.
private screening at the edit facility with Michael Taylor.
Oh yeah. Was it for the Sunday? No, what was it for again?
I don't know, it was like a private screening. Oh no, and then we must have met after that at like either the publicist or the distributor for like to chat. And then so we met twice, I guess. But the
Yeah.
first time was at a small screening, and it was just like a friends and family type thing, I think, in
Oh,
Manhattan.
cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't know why I'm not like
Yeah.
recalling it,
Well,
but thank you.
well, sure. And then gratefully Michael Taylor, introduced me to you, and I was so when By Hook or Crook, this opportunity came about, a new release of it, I was very excited to do something
Yeah.
again with both of you. So thank you, Harry. Really appreciate you're both making the time to do this.
You're welcome.
I know days leading up to what looks like a really, let's just say from the top, a great opportunity for a film like this to get out, thanks to Alamo Drafthouse. And can you talk just tell me a little bit more, because I'm reading from the notes here. What's that background sound? Is that no, I was just hearing
hear
doll parts. So that's a location, a place, a theater, or is it it's called Doll Parts, 70 Year of Trans Cinema. So maybe that's
the curated series. Yeah, I think that's the curated series of which By Crook playing within.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's confusing a little bit.
Yeah. It is for someone of my intelligence anyway. Let's see. So it'll be at Los Angeles, just to get out of the way. Los Angeles, June 24th. And in the afternoon, Denver, June 24th, San Francisco, June 24th, and New York City, June 25th. So how are you guys going to be at all those places at one time?
I don't think we will be able to be
Maybe
on
not.
all those places.
Yeah.
But it's really exciting to have a mini re-release 22 years after the film.
It's got to be right, because it was both of your first film, right? You didn't know what you were doing at the time, right? Kind of, right?
We didn't know that we didn't know what we were doing,
which is the best way to go. Yeah, right.
No, it was actually quite an intimidating feat. We Silas and I both we have a lot of things in common. One of the things we have in common is that we like to bite off something without thinking about how we're going to chew it, just knowing that if we basically jump in the pool and start to drown, then we're going to learn to swim. And we, fortunately, we both have that in common, and that's definitely how we made By Hook or By Crook. I don't think we understood how difficult it was to make a feature film. It is very, very difficult to make a feature film. I mean, it's kind of obvious. There's so many bad movies that come out. And I remember saying to Silas, there's so many bad movies. How hard could it be to make a really good movie? Well, apparently, it's really, really difficult to make any feature film. So, but we started out as kind of, amateurs, punk rocks. We didn't necessarily know we wanted to make the best thing possible. And then the more people we brought on, the more we realized we couldn't fuck it up, because we had a lot of people working for free, a lot of people working really hard. We needed to, drive the ship and do a good job, and to sort of make it sort of repay all this help that people were giving us, all this guidance.
Yeah. I remembered at one point, like, if we had known the work it was going to be, I don't think we would have done it. And I remembered halfway through, my partner at the time was like, I was just tortured by the movie and it felt like hijacked. And she said, well, you chose to do this. And I was like, I did at first, but now I can't stop. We're in too far. We have too many people's energy and time and money. And it was, but it was a really great, it took what it took, and we educated ourselves along the way. We had a lot of smart people working with us for peanuts. And so, yeah.
Well, it almost sounds like the title almost applied to the making of the film as opposed to the subject matter of the film.
Really did.
Yeah,
You know, it's
definitely.
really funny. I mean, I think that there's, you know, we wrote 2 movie scripts before we wrote By Hook or By Crook, and By Hook or By Crook, you know, and those weren't very good. They just weren't really holding together. And then we thought to ourselves, hey, we got to sort of a little bit more write what we know. And we had been, you know, best friends for decades, it seemed like already at that point. Now it's been even more decades. And so we decided to make the nugget of the movie, the core of it, sort of the story of this friendship, and it started to deepen, and I think both of those characters also will do anything to make the next thing happen, and so we sort of wrote ourselves in, if you will.
Yeah, and Harry did a John Waters movie right before our production that was about a rogue group making a film.
Yeah, he called it guerrilla filmmakers.
Guerrilla filmmaking. So it was a little like method or meta for for Harry.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I was gonna say, Harry, your character, how did you develop this character? Because, you know, they're very very, it was kind of a very specific type of person. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like you had all these interesting characteristics, and uh where how did this come about? How did you create the character? You
It's a
remember?
good question.
It's like
Not
20, it's been
absolutely easy
21
to
years or
answer.
22 years. Yeah.
You know, I had been doing these evening length monologue sort of performances for a few years in San Francisco before we started writing the movies, and that character is very similar to a character that I had sort of that sort of bubbled up from me for one of these evening length performances, and so I think I knew that it was going to be difficult to be behind the camera and then sort of jumping in front of the camera and then go back behind the camera. I knew that was going to be difficult. And I thought whatever character I was going to be playing needed to be easy for me to drop into and come really naturally. And that character, weirdly, especially at that time, was just bubbling right under the surface. So I could just drop into that character really really easily. It was there's a character that Valentine very familiar to me. Let's put it that way.
And
Yeah.
I would just add that when we were writing the script, the language, none of that was really improv. Everything was written, but it has that improv
Right.
kind of Cassavetes feel. And they were like, you can't have dialogue like this in a movie. And we were like, well, we're going to, because I mean, we're going to do all this work, and if we're going to fail, like, let us fail by our own standards instead of pandering. And I knew that really the one, like, not many people could do that dialogue well, but Harry had lived and breathed that character. And so, yeah, it could be that wild, it would still be very tender and connective. And yeah, it was really fun to see the audience reaction after.
Yeah, no, I know. And of course, I'm sure also some of the reactions that were, you might have had the tougher job, Silas, because you're the one responding to it and then trying to figure out how do you proceed when this other character is kind of, you're not going to ever really know you're going to get, right?
Yeah, I got to be the straight man.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a tougher job, I think, sometimes. But
it is. It's a tough job. I mean, but also Silas's character was so, in a way, that's the heart of the movie, right? Is that weird character sort of coming at him, and he just totally unflustered. In a weird way, it lets the viewer know how to watch the movie, which is you may not have seen these people before, you may not recognize all the weird behavior that they're doing, but you know what? Everything's okay.
Right. That's a great
point. It's not
point.
weird, you
right.
know?
Yeah.
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
So you didn't set out, I don't suppose you set out, you sat together and you said, oh, let's make a kind of an iconic transgressive movie. But it sort of is like in that grouping of films now, right? I mean, so not only did you not really, like, I guess, heed the advice of, you know, all the people that knew better, or, you know, that were constantly telling you cannot do this and you're supposed to do that or what have you. And I mean, you know, now, but you have actually something that is part of I guess, can you say mainstream LGBTQ cinema?
It's not, I don't think it's a hit
queer cinema.
Yeah, it hasn't hit mainstream, but it's really getting there 1 year at a
By hook or
time.
by
It's
crook.
been,
Yeah.
yeah, By Hook or By Crook has been.
Well, this could help. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really, but every few years it gets a major sort of boost of love, and
Oh.
it's taught in a lot of schools and MFA
Is it?
programs even. Yeah, it
Not
really
in
is,
Texas.
and it's amazing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe we'll have to change that. But it's but
Yeah.
it really is amazing to have students like one undergrad class. I popped in for a Zoom after, and one student was like, "I can't believe I've gone my whole life without seeing this," and they're like, 20 years old. It's not, but it was really
Right.
And we didn't set out to do something iconic, but what we did
No.
set out to do was actually I think we did want it to be. That's why we didn't explain ourselves. We didn't do typical like this is queerness and this is gender. We just let it live, and we also, Harry's very aesthetically driven, so we had no cell phones. We tried to have as few ugly cars, only vintage e-cars, and so I think that has helped it seem timeless a little bit.
It does feel that way. It feels like, yeah, it's hard to imagine this actually came out after, like in 2002, did it? Was it, or 2001, 2002? Because it just feels like one of those movies that could have come out 10, 15 years earlier. There were so many of these, shot on Super 8 or what have you of that time. And, before cell phones were proliferating and everything else, social media wasn't even an idea yet. So there is something, what's so great about that is then you become these outlaws. It's much more believable, So I get, what was I going to ask you? Oh, damn it. Well, oh yeah. But then the film gets into Sundance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, where were people telling you how to go? You hadn't made a feature yet. So were people saying, oh, you should submit this to Sundance? Or did you just figure, well, nothing, I don't know. This is the one I know about.
No, I think we did know
everybody knows about
it because there was like
that was the festival you needed to go to become a famous and rich film director.
Right,
and
there
that
you
was
go.
our plan.
That's right. It's in the pamphlet. It's in the
in the pamphlet, in the indie movie making pamphlet of the 90s.
That's right.
You definitely needed to go conquer Sundance.
Well, it still is, actually, turns out.
Yeah.
It turns out.
Yeah. And
I guess did Steakhouse, who is may join us hopefully, but did Steakhouse have like more information about that approach? Is that where they came
I
in?
think somehow, yes, I think all of us had some connection. I think
Right.
somehow I talked to Shari Freelos. We applied the year before because we were a bit on their radar and they were curious about it, and we didn't get in. And I remember calling Shari and thanking her for the opportunity. And I think that was nice because people often are not happy when they get not programmed. And then we played at Outfest and Frameline. We got 2 awards that were put in the trades at Outfest, and we still got into Sundance, which is also probably not happening anymore. But
well, when we applied the first time to Sundance, we weren't done. We were half edited at that point, and we were like, we're going to rush to try and get it done. And so, in a way, it was a lot better because we needed more time to finish the edit that we needed all that time. In fact, I think we were still just scooping the last bits together even a year later. So we needed all that time. We did one edit that was 3 hours, and we showed it to a few people. We edited per the script first.
I see.
And
that's smart.
As long as it took, and we showed it to a few people, and we got some story points, and just stared at it. Like, what did we achieve? What did we not achieve from that first month of shooting? And then we realized we needed to do some reshoots to kind of put icing on the cake of the good stuff that we had captured.
And you are go ahead, Silas.
Oh, go ahead.
No, please.
I was just gonna say, like, it was, as new filmmakers, it was interesting. Like, there's a shot when Shai gets pushed to the ground when he's trying to rescue Valentine, and he turns and looks. That was a pickup. We didn't have Shai turning to look, so it was like really. I'm a fan of pickups, like, because you get exactly the thing that you may have missed, or as the story changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you just also mention how you got Joan Jett? How did Joan Jett end up in the film? Because that's sort of a surprise.
I was in a band for 10 years and we played shows with Joan Jett. And
Yes.
so
Oh, okay. Tribe 8.
yeah, so yeah, and so I knew her. I also stayed in touch with her manager, Kenny Laguna. It's really amazing. He's been with her the whole time.
Oh,
He's like,
nice.
hey, it's you, it's Kenny Laguna. And they were so generous. And she was not only acting in a Costco parking lot with Harry shooting, but she was also being security because we have no permits for anything. And so she's acting and she goes, he's coming back around, like he's coming back around the cart. Okay. And you can
That's
see that
funny.
on the dailies. I wasn't even there. Harry shot that.
Yeah, we shot
Um,
Joan with, that was just Tanya and I and Joan.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a Costco parking lot. You know, there was no production crew or anybody around for that.
Yeah.
She had a shaved head at the time, and she was like,
We put a
had
dark
on
wig on her.
and dress her in this leather jacket. She's like, you're not gonna try to make me look like Joan Jett from the Runaways. We're like, oh no. But that's exactly what we're doing.
Except we are.
Yeah, except we
And you guys, I know, but let me know if you have to hop off. I know, Silas, you're on it under
I
the.
should in 5 minutes, but Harry, if you can stay on, that'd be great.
Yeah. I just have a couple more. I mean, I just wanted to also just figure, you guys, just a little of the history people should know. You guys were part of a kind of a art space, right? Collective. Would you call it a collective? Or just an art space in San Francisco called Red Dora's Bearded Lady. Is that where you originally met? Red Dora's Bearded Lady? Is that how you got to know each other?
Well, no, we met before that, and then we created that together with two other friends of ours, and then the community all like kind of pitched in as well. It was a very neighborhood and community place. But yeah, Harry, I met Harry when I was
it was a coffee house, and it was mainly a coffee house, and we served bagels, you know. But then we did performances.
We had art,
and we put up art on the walls, and
sure,
and you know, there was a lot happening. It was kind of like a gay hub for a long time, and gay and PFLAG friendly.
Harry, I found a flyer the other day that had one of our shows, and it had Alison Bechdel and oh God, this writer I'm forgetting who's very famous, and Masha Gessen, who's like been in the news a lot for writing about.
Oh my God, that's nuts.
And it was just like one of our shows. There were a lot of people that were kind of a big deal that performed in this little bowling alley size cafe.
It sounds like.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it just sounds like it was one of a time and a place where you can't really plan it, but things just sort of spark, or there's like a convergence that takes place, and you make obviously relationships, and maybe things, works of art, what have you, as a result of just this thing, which maybe you didn't plan. You would just plan to make, toast some bagels for people. But it sounds like it was a really important thing that happened. Yeah. Well, it sounds like a very important moment.
Silas and I met in 1986 or something.
No, not 86. 80. It would be 88, I think.
Something like that, right?
Oh, so much later on. So much later.
Yeah, so 80, I know. Well, I got it out of high school in 86.
Started in 93, maybe.
Yeah.
And so we'd already been friends for a long time by that point. And, starting the cafe was a similar idea to doing the movie in that there were things in our world that we didn't have that we wanted. We wanted this kind of cafe. We wanted this kind of meeting space. We wanted it to look like this. We wanted to be inviting to this certain set of people, and we didn't feel like we had a spot yet. Right. So we were like, let's make a spot,
Yeah.
So I mean, we were sort of seeing certain representations. We were seeing butches represented on screen, and we were like, why not? A lot of people had bands then, and if they did start to hit the big time, the record companies would want to kick the butch person out of the band.
Right.
Like it was just not good.
Oh yeah. Oops. Did you freeze?
Looks like he might. Maybe he froze.
Oh. I would just add to that I often say
I love the expression though right now. That's fantastic.
I know, it's a great expression. I just would add to that it was a weird offshoot of being raised as young queers in the middle of the AIDS pandemic before the cocktail. And so, homophobia was all the rage, and we were the in-betweeners. We weren't really gay and lesbian. And so we were like these like little lost kids, and we made everything ourselves because there wasn't really a place to go. And so it helped a lot. My band started because we wanted to have music. We started labels. We started a cafe so we could perform.
Beautiful.
That's where Harry started to perform, was because we had a cafe. We booked other people, realizing we did that so that we could also have a place to go.
It's Harry, Silas just caught us up on the sort of the idea behind it. It just sounds like a beautiful idea. And by the way, a great, maybe something to return to at some point for, in terms of a film or a story, because it's like, sounds like a very special moment in time that really had quite an impact on quite a few people. So pretty amazing that you had
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah. Well, just to remind people, this very important film, and I really enjoyed it. I'm just so glad that I found that my path led to it, and that I got the opportunity to see it and talk to you both. And it's called By Hook or By Crook. And go to, I guess, is where people go. Alamo Drafthouse, obviously, is the spot to go and find out how you can make a screening, and then hopefully, and then it'll be on Criterion. I almost forgot. That's important. If you have the Criterion Channel it's going to be on. It's going to be on there.
Month of June. I think it's for the rest of the month.
Okay, and I left off a few cities that are going to be later in the month: Raleigh, Austin, and Chicago. So it will be in Austin. And then, so there, Governor Abbott, F you. Playing digitally throughout June on the Criterion Channel, and I'll put all the links. I'm going to put the trailer at the beginning. I would invite you back on anytime, and it really was great. Thank you to Matt and to Steakhouse, even though she couldn't be here, but I appreciate everybody.
Steak's an amazing producer. I'll just say in her absence.
Yeah. Well,
but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Harry and Matt, do you want to stay on just to talk about the trailer?
Okay, I could say out too if you want some words about the trailer. I'm happy to. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, we'll take it.
I'll watch it later.